Have you ever looked at a really huge number and just felt your brain kind of short circuit? We've all been there. Well, today, we're going to fix that. We are cracking the code of big numbers, and I promise, by the time we're done, you'll be looking at them in a totally new way. Let's get right into it. Okay, take a look at this thing. 7 digits, a couple commas. It's a bit of a monster, right? Your first impression is probably just a jumble of figures. It looks important, sure, but what does it actually mean? How do you even say it out loud without tripping over your words? And that's the real question, isn't it? It feels like you need some kind of math superpower to figure this out, but you really don't. There's a surprisingly simple, almost elegant system behind it all. A secret code, if you will, that makes any number, no matter how ridiculously big, totally understandable. And we're about to crack it. First things first, let's talk about where these giants even come from. Because this isn't just some abstract math problem. These numbers are everywhere, all around us, and they're shaping our world whether we realize it or not. I mean, just think about it. The population of your country, the national budget you hear about on the news, the distance to the nearest star, the revenue of a company like Apple, these aren't just numbers on a page, they're stories. And understanding them is a pretty critical skill for just making sense of things. So, how do we start decoding these things? Well, it all boils down to one incredibly powerful idea. I like to call it the secret code, but its official name is place value. And trust me, this is the master key that unlocks everything. This chart right here, this is how we bring order to the chaos. Let's take our mystery number and just slot each digit into its proper home. The 7, that goes right here in the millions place. The 4 in the 100,000s, the 5 in the 10,000s, and so on, all the way down. See that? It's not a random jumble anymore. It has structure. It has meaning. And once everything is in its proper place, reading the number is actually easy. You just read it in chunks. You've got 7 million, then 458,000, and you finish with 921. Simple as that. No more stumbling. So here's the absolute heart of it all. Place value just means that a digit's worth totally depends on where it sits. That 7 in our number isn't just a 7. Its position makes it worth 7 million. That's the whole secret. Once you get that a digit's value is all about its location, you've basically mastered the language of big numbers. All right, so now we can read them. Let's level up. The next skill is being able to look at 2 huge numbers and know instantly which one is bigger. And just like before, there are a couple of super simple rules that make this a piece of cake. Rule number 1 is the easiest thing in the world. Seriously, just count the digits. The number that has more digits is always, and I mean always, the bigger number. In this case, 12 million and change has 8 digits. 9 million has 7. That's it. Game over. 12 million is bigger. But wait, you say, what if they have this same number of digits? Even easier. You just start from the far left and you scan to the right, comparing the digits one by one until you find the first place they don't match. Here, they both start with a 5. So we move to the next spot, and bam! We see a 6 versus an 8. Since 8 is bigger than 6, we know the second number is the larger one. Done. Reading and comparing is awesome, but what about doing some actual math with these beasts? It looks intimidating, I know, but adding and subtracting big numbers uses that exact same place value system we just learned, just with a couple of handy little tricks thrown in. When you're adding, the magic trick is called carrying. First, you line up the numbers perfectly, so all the units, tens, and hundreds are in neat columns. Then, starting from the right, you add each column. If the sum of a column is 10 or more, say you get 14, you just write down the 4 and carry that little 1 over to the top of the next column to the left to be added in. That's it. Subtraction has a very similar trick, but instead of carrying, it's called borrowing. Again, you line everything up and work from right to left. But what happens if you need to subtract 8 from 3? Well, you can't. So you just go next door to the column on the left and borrow from it, which turns your 3 into a 13. It's just a clever way of regrouping that makes any subtraction problem totally possible. Okay, for our final section, let's talk about making these numbers useful in the real world. Because let's be honest, sometimes you don't need the exact down to the last digit number. You just need the gist. And that's where our final tool, rounding, is an absolute lifesaver. And I really mean it when I say it's a superpower. Rounding isn't about being lazy or inaccurate, it's about being smart and efficient. It lets you communicate the scale of something, the big picture, without making people's eyes glaze over with a ton of detail they don't need. It's the key to making quick estimates and explaining things clearly. So let's say you look up a city's population, and the official census says it's precisely 5,600,002. Now that's technically correct, but is it helpful? Who talks like that?
Exactly, no one. If someone asks you the population, you're just going to say about 5.6 million. It's faster, it's clearer, and it gives them all the information they actually care about. You've just rounded off the tiny, unimportant details to show off the big, important picture. That's the power of rounding.
And just like that, you've done it. By getting a handle on place value, learning a couple of simple rules for comparing, and understanding the practical power of rounding, you have officially cracked the code. That confusing monster of a number we saw at the beginning, it's not so scary anymore, is it? Now it's just information that you have complete control over. So the only thing left to ask is, what are you going to do with this new skill? Because the next time you see a massive number in the news or in a report, you're not going to freeze up. You now have the key to unlock what it really means. So what big number will you decode next?